This video was made possible through the support of patrons on Patreon. Thank you so much. In the last video, we looked at the present tense conjugation shown here, and saw how Latin dropped the ending T consonants and sometimes the S, and changed some of the U sounds to O sounds, but for the most part remained fairly similar. However, French conjugation changed enough that the subject ended up needing to be stated, unlike in Latin. The other tenses, though, weren't so lucky. The most unchanged tense is the imperfect, as we can see here. These languages also demonstrate a language change known as betacism, where B and V sounds get confused and interchanged. This happened to Latin in about the 3rd century and was most widespread in the Western Romance languages, most notably in Spanish. And in this tense, we can see that the ending T and M consonants were dropped, and the U sound was changed to an O sound, just like in the present tense. But this is only the ARE verbs. For the other types, there is less similarity, as if the conjugation lost the B. However, Italian remains very close, as we can see here. Latin also had a future tense, but this was completely replaced in Vulgar Latin, and hence none of the Romance languages use it. It is thought that the future conjugation fell out of use because it sounded too similar to the imperfect tense, as can be seen in this chart. Instead, Vulgar Latin, and hence the Romance languages, replace this form by attaching the verb habere to the infinitive form of each verb. In Spanish, this verb conjugates as has, hemos, habéis, han. So because the H is silent, the future form of amar becomes amaré, amarás, amará, amaremos, amareis, amarán. The accent on the last vowel simply indicates that that's where the stress of the word is. And this word haber was also used to replace the perfect past tense in some of the Romance languages, or simply to form a new tense. This time, though, it comes before the verb and is conjugated, while the main verb is put in its past participle, as seen here. He amado, has amado, ha amado, hemos amado, habéis amado, han amado. However, different languages use this compound form and the perfect form to varying degrees. French only uses the perfect form in literature, and uses this compound form in speech. Italian uses both. And in Spain, the compound form is used for things that happened recently, while the perfect form is used for things further in the past. And in Mexico, the compound form is used to describe things one has done, and the perfect form is for completed actions. So this is similar to how the past tense is used in English when we say have done or did. Although the past tense forms change somewhat, the Romance languages still retain this division of the past tense into an imperfect and perfect form, which, for example, the Germanic languages don't have. And the ability to drop the subject of a sentence due to the conjugation was also retained in all but French, which is also a property the Germanic languages don't have. Additionally, although the distinct form of the future tense changed, it still is formed through conjugation, which is a third property the Germanic languages don't have. So as we can see, the fundamental aspects of Latin grammar were mostly preserved in the Romance languages, but their expression changed enough so as no longer to be mutually intelligible in all cases. For example, in Italian, probably can't guess what tense dormia is in unless it's clear from context. Additionally, there are some changes that make the Romance languages dissimilar from Latin. The verb was moved from the end of the sentence to the second position in general. And as we saw in the last video, the neutral gender and the Latin case system was pretty much entirely abandoned due to sound change. Let's take a look at vocabulary now. As we can see from this list, there is certainly a lot of similarity between words from Latin and the Romance languages. Most of these words look like the same word, just spoken with a foreign accent. And here we can see that there are also some words that were completely replaced in some of the languages. So there are definitely dissimilarities. But how much similarity is there between the entire lexicon of these languages? There's a great research project on elinguistics.net where there's a genetic proximity calculator for languages where you can compare the lexicon of two languages. This program compares the consonants of related words. So for example, the Latin word lingua and the Spanish word lengua, as well as the words ventus and viento, each receive a 100% rating because they share the consonants LNG and VNT respectively. And this is appropriate since they are obviously related, so this will give us a pretty clear picture of the relatedness of each language, even though the words don't always exactly match. Using this program, we find that Latin has the following percentage of shared vocabulary with the following Romance languages. I don't think it's too much of a surprise that Italian is ranked so high, but the difference between 75% and 79.5% really isn't very significant since the program isn't perfect. But the reason why Romanian is so low can be explained if we look at a timeline. As we can see here, the Romanian language branched off much earlier than some of the other Romance languages. And if we compare some other languages, we can see that English has about the same relatedness as Romanian. Is English also a Romance language? That's the subject of another video. But we can see that the other European languages also get a high score, as well as Sanskrit. This is because they are part of the Indo-European language family, which will also be the subject of another video. But as we would expect, the four unrelated languages here get a really low score, under 10%. And since this program measures consonant relatedness, the two languages might randomly share the same consonants for some words, especially short ones. So as we have seen, there's much similarity in vocabulary between Latin and the Romance languages. But the grammar has changed enough that speakers of a Romance language won't be able to automatically understand Latin without studying it. Okay, hopefully you found this topic interesting. Let me know in the comments below if there's more you'd like to know, as I will be making further videos related to this topic. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share, and if you can, consider supporting the channel on Patreon. Gracias!